Welcome to Bankole's Nation. I'm your host, Bankole Thompson. Coming up on this week's episode, we're looking at the war against diversity, equity, and inclusion, and of course, Target, the latest company, the latest retailer to announce that it is ending its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, as well as a program to promote Black and minority products. Should we boycott Target? I said yes. I've been a long-time customer of Target, and I've since decided that I will no longer shop at Target, and I'm asking you to do the same. So coming up on this week's episode, we're talking with attorney Tina Patterson from Detroit. She's weighing in on the issue, as well as the history of the Montgomery bus boycott. It's all coming up on Bankole's Nation. Stay with us. Welcome to our weekly podcast here, Bankole's Nation. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining us now is attorney Tina M. Patterson. She's a distinguished attorney and the principal attorney of the esteemed law firm, Patterson Justice Counsel, PLLC. She's also the president and director of research at the Pulse Institute, a national renowned independent, nonpartisan, anti-poverty think tank, both organizations that are headquartered in the historic city of Detroit. With a decade of legal expertise and prolific public commentary, Attorney Patterson is a former attorney for the United States federal government, has built and led widespread influential businesses and nonprofit organizations. Her work has established her as a prominent woman in executive leadership, including being one of the handful of Black women leading a major national think tank among the rare 2% of Black women lawyers in the United States. She's a frequent analyst and sought after speaker on law, public policy, and leadership. And of course, she's joining me now to talk about this DEI battle. Thank you so much, Tina, for being here.
Thank you for having me on your podcast today.
You know, I want to begin to talk about this. What we see is these companies that are withdrawing support for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That has been the conversation the last month. And we've seen since President Donald Trump got inaugurated on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a lot of companies have basically been ducking, running away from DEI. We've seen Walmart announce they're scaling back, perhaps ending their program. Ford Motor Company, they're scaling back. And of course, the latest we saw is Target, which basically said they're ending their DEI as well as a program that helps to promote, Black products and minority products and so forth. And I want to talk about that. I've taken the position that, we should boycott Target. That Target needs to be boycotted because I used to shop at Target for a long time, but I am no longer going to Target to shop. And if you're watching this podcast, believe me, I think you should boycott. You should not spend your dollars on Target. But before we get into that, though, just your take on this entire fight over DEI.
Well, it's not a new fight. My concern is that we're going to get lackadaisical because we've made so much progress since the 60s when the fight was really on. The executive order by Donald Trump actually eliminated, a lot of people I think are getting lost in that, the executive order by Lyndon Johnson, which established affirmative action.
Right.
And that led to a widespread spread of Black wealth when it came to Black contracting opportunities, Black business opportunities, Black employment opportunities. We're kind of taking a position now of a wait and see approach, and that's not what it's called for. I mean, history has always called on the courageous to come and make significant sacrifices and changes, and I'm not seeing enough of that. But to your point, just with these companies kind of rolling back and scaling back, as consumers, number one, we have the power of where we spend our dollar, where we invest our dollar, where we want our dollar to grow and make a return for us. And if a company is basically flat out telling you, hey, you can come shop here, but we're not going to support any, leadership. We're not going to support you in the workforce. The programs that we did have to support you and uplift you, we're getting rid of that. What does that say to you? What does that say to you in the dollar you have in your hand? And another thing, when it comes to Target and even Amazon was another big one, we've gotten so, again, my point is lackadaisical, and we've gotten so, not lazy, but we've gotten so convenience minded that we don't think we can go and take our money anywhere else. And that's just not true. When it comes to Target, they're very much a lifestyle kind of company, and sacrifices need to be made. So if you sacrifice the things you enjoy at Target because they're not respecting you It's a trade-off. It has to happen. I think too often I'm seeing too much risk and reward and not wanting to take a position at all, when the reality is that a position has been taken, period. There are going to be consequences about it. If this is the direction of where the country is going, this is just the beginning, right? This is just what 10 days into the second administration of a Donald Trump presidency, and he's already fulfilling so many things that he said he was going to do. And so I don't think we can be lazy. I don't think we can be wait and see, and I don't think we can afford to take this not seriously. Because there's so many historic and economic consequences to it. I don't think we're looking at the broader picture of it all.
We're speaking with attorney Tina Patterson here. She's a frequent analyst and sort of a speaker on law, public policy, leadership, and regularly serves as a panelist and keynote speaker advocating for equitable policies and women in government and business leadership. Uh, so the thing about it, though, is that I have seen some people who have been very hesitant about a boycott, expressing fear, and I feel like it's just totally not having courage. I've seen some even black merchants, who have their products in Target, urging customers not to boycott Target. And I'm saying to myself, what would Dr. King have said? Boycotts have been one of the most effective ways to send a message to companies who basically say, we don't want black folk, or we're not going to hire black people, or we're going to end these programs that normally would cater to issues of equity and equality on the workplace. So, and we take the Montgomery bus boycott, for example, and I want you to talk about that, though, because it seems as if we've become too comfortable, and we've been
Yes.
complacent. We've come a long way, and because perhaps many of us have not had to fight any real battles. We were not the
Yeah.
leaders of the civil rights movements. We were not members of Dr. King's inner circle. So we've really not, we've not taken the beatings that John Lewis, Dr. Bernard Lafayette, and others, Ambassador Andrew Young, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and others have taken. So we're just so comfortable. And
Yeah.
when it comes to boycott, we act as if it's something that cannot be done.
You said so much there, and I've been thinking about it in my own life. Because anywhere I go, I'm very privileged to go where I'm going because I understand that people came before me. Only 2% of Black women are lawyers. That's still a very low number, 60 years, right after the executive order, 1965. And when you talk about Dr. King and all of these great legal and historic luminaries that have fought the battles, for me, yes, all of them, but I know of them because of my father. And this is not generations past, right? This is my father, the person that brought me here. And he was born in the South during segregation. He was born in Alabama, in Tuskegee. We visited Montgomery every summer when I came up. So the history was never lost for me. And so it hurts me because that I never had a chance, an opportunity to not know about the struggle. And to see so many Black people who are thriving, who are in business, and who are now crying about, what's going to happen to their business, and not really seeing the bigger picture of how you got there in the first place. That is just, to me, some of the most disheartening things that I've seen. And acting like a boycott is just impossible in this day and age. Boycott is still a very much effective tool. It is an economic tool. It is a tool of power. When you talk about the Montgomery bus boycott, what people don't understand also, it wasn't just Black people had to ride in the back of the bus. It was they still had to pay. There were 75% of the riders on the bus. They were being abused, right? They had to give up their seats, but also they couldn't be hired as bus drivers. So it wasn't only the treatment on the bus and them still giving up their money, they couldn't even ascend into, employment, right? Into further economic opportunities on the bus. And so when it comes to a Black business product, and so many of the brands that I've seen, they're independent. They own the product, right? I mean, I get the business part of distributorship and marketing and appeal, but that's your product. Target does not own your product. Amazon does not own your product. Walmart does not own your product. That's the power of independence, is it? So you're not beholden to these big corporations and whoever else might own it and just cut you off completely. You have room for adjustability and flexibility. But again, it's the courage. You have to have the courage to make those decisions in the line, just like people did in Montgomery. I was I can't help but think about it during this time. It was 1955, 70 years ago, right? We're in 2025 now. But the rallying cry was the courage and it was the unity and the community also. Were times different then? Yes, because segregation was legal. It was the law of the land. But again, that's why it's so important now because this is just a rollback into that time period, right? We're now outlawing what this was designed to fight, which was segregation.
Mm.
And so, it wasn't without sacrifice back then. People walked. They walked to work. They didn't have cars because they weren't afforded those luxuries in the same way then. And when they didn't walk, they formed a carpool.
Right,
And carpool was challenged. They were challenged in court to say that was illegal, that they couldn't do that because they were not riding the buses. It was a unified stance, but it
right,
was very successful, and it led to an overturning of the law after over a year of the boycott, right? Refusing to give money. So it is a highly effective tool. It can work in this day and age. I think that, reflecting on it too, another problem is we've become so used to being like this big mass global market, whereas Montgomery was very centralized, right? It was a very specific issue. So we
right.
think it'll only work then. But that doesn't matter. The principle still stands that if you withhold your dollars, there's going to be some suffering. And it has to either come from Target, the black brands, or the black people. I mean, where is it going to come from? And what's the biggest goal in all of this? It can't just be the business. The business will thrive in and of itself. Even if you lose business, you can always get back into business. When it
Right.
comes to the dignity and the well-being and the economic opportunity of people, that is something, and especially you're talking about a major corporation that does have the funds to do that. That's something that is the greater picture that, a lot of these black brands are not looking at.
Yeah. Well, it is, but they also, I think, underestimate for some of these black merchants who are crying, woe is me online, and basically, telling folk, don't protest, don't boycott, go there and buy our products, instead of saying, well, we're going to pull our products, and guess what? We're going to come together, or we're going to create our own websites, and we will directly sell our products outside, cut the middleman, and urge all of you, all folk who are upset about DEI, to come on our website and buy our products. Instead, they're going the opposite. And I think about it, just the how much power it would be and the message it would send if all these black merchants that have their products in Target, if they could pull all of their products right now and join the call for a boycott of Target, the message that will send. Because history has shown that when corporate America, when these major companies are threatened economically, they come to the table with massive incentives that you've never thought of. And it takes me back to Reverend Leon Sullivan in
Yeah.
Philadelphia, who was the pastor of the largest black church, the Zion Baptist Church in Philadelphia. Operation Breadbasket, Dr. King was connected to Leon Sullivan. In fact, King invited Sullivan to come to Atlanta to teach SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, on how to engage in mass boycott. I mean, this whole notion of Operation Breadbasket, which Reverend Jesse Jackson took, that later became the Rainbow Push Coalition. It came out of the Sullivan principles. And what Reverend Leon Sullivan did in Philadelphia was he led a mass boycott of these corporations that
Oh, yeah.
refused to hire black people.
Yeah.
And the media refused to cover it. They tried to basically black him out. And it didn't matter, because when he led the boycott with these ministers that were behind him, churches, right away 4,000 jobs opened up for black folk. So what are these black merchants who have their products on Target? What are these black merchants afraid of when history has already set the template?
Well, I mean, it's a matter of convenience, personal convenience. It's a matter of courage.
Yeah,
And also, it's reactionary. And so a lot of times reactionary is just based out of fear and it blocks creativity. Because to your point, there's so many options on the table. And I don't know the business specifics of it all, but when it comes to contracting and all that, there are ways to get out. That's all I'm going to say. But if you pull resources, there are ways to fight back. And then you mentioned Reverend Leon Sullivan. I keep his book on my shelf, Build, Brother, Build. He did that exact same thing. He did boycott, and it was highly successful. And were there sacrifices? Of course there were. It wasn't always easy, and it's not going to be easy. And I think that's a big thing is that we're we're looking for the easy way out. There is no easy way out of this. It's either we're gonna sacrifice now or we're gonna sacrifice in the long run, and that's what I can't afford. I'm the leader of the next generation. I can't afford to sacrifice opportunities in the future. And I think if more of us were thinking in that way, then we would see just how easy, quote
Right.
unquote, how
Well,
simple it would be to take the short-term hit instead of these long-term gains.
yeah, I'm so disappointed with some of these black marchants. What Reverend Leon Sullivan did in Philadelphia, with the Zion Baptist Church, the largest black church, and leading this boycott in Philadelphia that opened employment opportunities for thousands of black people in Philadelphia. That boycott was what led Reverend Leon Sullivan in
Yes.
1971 to become the first African American to be appointed to the board of directors of a major corporation in America. It was General Motors.
Yes.
Because of that boycott, he right away it showed him to the top of the
Yeah.
board of directors of General Motors at GM, and became the first African American, a male or female, to be on GM's board. And Lyndon Johnson sent a message. He said, "What is good for GM?" He said, "Leon, what is good for GM is good for America." So I don't understand why these folk are so scared. And Tina, I posted on LinkedIn. I've been posting online about the need to boycott Target. And I've been chuckling the last couple of days because when I wake up, I check my LinkedIn page, somebody from Target Sales checking me out. So they're getting the message. This
Yeah.
boycott needs to happen. We got to boycott Target. The fact that they're saying DEI, we're going to cancel DEI, no more. We should let Target know you don't deserve our dollars. To heck with Target. Your take.
I think it's that simple. I don't know why Target was the one we just couldn't let go of. I mean, for me, it's just been crazy to see this because Amazon, Walmart, Ford Motor Company, you know, okay. But then Target came around and it was like, oh no, we can't do that. But again, a lot of to this whole conversation, so many of the brands that are there, Target does not own them. So there is still so much economic opportunity. And time after time, consumers are saying, listen, we're not going to go to Target, but we will support you. But again, I think a lot of it is just so much fear. It's immediate fear just based on what's going to happen to their bottom line now. And I understand, as a business owner, that especially being black, you don't always get the opportunities of
Right.
white businesses, and
That's
that's what the
true.
shows are designed for. And I get it. I'm not saying that that's not a concern, but you have loyal supporters who want to support you and your brand because of who you are and what you stand for. But when you not cop out, but when you kind of acquiesce to Target to say, oh, well, we can't because we're there, it weakens your brand, actually. I mean, imagine if Reverend Leon Sullivan said, oh, well, they're not going to hire black folks now, but let's just play along with it,
Yeah,
and
let's play
we'll see where
along.
we go.
Yeah. Let's
It would
appease
have
them.
it would never have led to him becoming the first black person and on the GM board. And he, from that platform, was able to also do the same thing for South Africa and
That's
calling for
right.
divestments
Yeah.
from the
Divestment.
side.
When he got on GM's board, one of the first actions Reverend Sullivan took was divestment. He forced
Right.
promoters to pull almost $10 billion out of South African racist government investments in South Africa's racist government. So Leon Sullivan got on GM's board. He fought for black dealers, black suppliers, but
Mhm.
also
Right.
forced GM to pull out of South Africa's racist government. So, but it all started with a boycott. And I don't understand what these black merchants are afraid of.
Well, again,
You know,
their own bottom
they
line.
have no clue that if they lead a boycott, they could end up being on Target's board of directors. But
But
I'm just saying,
see,
I don't know what they're afraid of.
it's short-sighted thinking, their own immediate bottom line. Oh, how are we going to get out of this? We can't get out of this. A lot of them are saying we're locked into this contract, and that's just, to me, another form of bondage. You never want to put yourself somewhere where you can't leave. So that's maybe even an overlooked business, move on their part, not being able to get out of something. But this is just again, the be all end all for me is Target is not it. I get it. It's mass appeal, it's all that, but Target is not the be all end all for your brand. Target is not the brand owner. There are many opportunities to make a pivot. And when it comes to this moments of crisis like this, where you're kind of questioning what to do, where to go, I mean, your value should drive you, number one. But number two, crisis also presents some of the greatest opportunities. Again, the Montgomery bus boycott, I just think about it all the time. If Rosa Parks had not sat down, would we have seen a Martin Luther King Jr. at all,
No,
right? Because this is what elevated him.
that was the event that made Martin Luther King an international leader. Go ahead.
Yes, yes, exactly. You know, and it wasn't easy. I mean, Rosa Parks, she was a very venerable woman, right? She had a lot of respect in the community. She was very credible. People respected her. To see her in handcuffs, you know, was enough. And it wasn't just her, it was a lot of people taking that action to that would build up to it. And it was worse then because it actually did lead to arrest. It could lead to
Right.
physical beatings, right? People were being killed and lynched and all of these just horrific tragedies that was happening. So for us to say now, oh, we can't pull out, we might lose money. I mean, the sacrifice is not even equal, you know, on that front. So I would just encourage to look at it differently, to look at it as an opportunity, not a sacrifice on your part. Um, it- there's going to be losses, period, in any battle, in any challenge, any conflict, but you got to draw a line in the sand. You know, if I was an attorney representing somebody, I can't acquiesce and play nice and, oh, well, maybe, no, I have to represent, right? I
Right.
have to represent what my values are and what is in the best interest of what I'm representing. I can't be wishy-washy on stuff. And same thing in business, you have to stand on your principles. I know that you got to get money at the end of the day. That's fine. Target is not the only way to get money at the end of the day, though. And I think that's what's being lost in all of this.
Yeah,
And
and
again, when it comes to consumers, they have the dollar power. They can spend their money where they want to spend their money. And if they boycotted, if they pulled that money to get out of Target and supported these brands directly, Target will feel the hit. And so, you know, whatever Target is going to do, let them do it. But if it's going to be misaligned with their values, right, don't support it.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. I think Target needs to be boycotted. I think anybody who's listening to this and you believe in the redeeming principles of DEI, which is not just about Black folk, it's also about women in general. It's about the disabled community, you name it. It's about discrimination. DEI is about inclusion. And if you believe in those things, and Target has ended their DEI program, they've ended a program that helps promote Black products, minority products, Asian products, you name it. They've ended all of that. Target doesn't deserve your money. You should boycott. You should not shop at Target. That's what I'm telling you. Do not shop at Target. Make them feel the economic pain. I mean, this is not something new. I mean, there's been a
Yeah.
historical template. Boycott has been one of the most effective ways that, movements for advancement, movements for equity,
Yeah.
movements for racial justice, movements for economic justice have been able to achieve victories and goals and force captains of industry to the table because
Oh,
the bottom line, if Target underreports profits next month to Wall Street, believe me, they're going to come to the table of equity for real conversation about how to even enhance DEI.
absolutely. And you know, boycotts lead to those legal changes because this is exactly what happened in Montgomery. They withdrew the
Right.
money for over a year. Was it challenged in court? Absolutely. But was it overturned? Yes, it was. And that was consistent. And guess what? So was the strategy. You know, this is what propelled Dr. King. He helped lead the movement. And there was a lawsuit around June which kind of declared the busing unconstitutional, but it still had to go up until the final authority. I think it was the Supreme Court. And then it still had to touch Montgomery. And so they said, okay, they didn't just celebrate at the first, you know, inkling of victory. They waited till the full throttle came through. And so it was even past an entire year. It was December 20th. So they waited, you know, beyond the 365 days to say, okay, we're in the clear. Now we can, you know, go back on the buses. Now we can integrate it. That's what they waited for. And so, you know, it's not a giving in. It's not an acquiescence. It's not an appeasement. It's saying, no, we're going to be very serious about where we put these dollars. We're very serious about the future of our children. There was a woman that Dr. King reported in his papers and one of his memoirs saying that there was a grandmother, an elderly woman, who joined the boycott, not because it affected her personally, but she was thinking for her children, her grandchildren. And that's what it's about. When you put yourself on the line for something greater than yourself, then it becomes that simple. You know, but I don't think that a lot of Black businesses are doing that because they're looking at the bottom line first, which again, okay, you're in business, we get that. But there are going to be sacrifices somewhere. And these are just a handful of Black brands. Again, it's not Target. Target is so, even if you go there to buy these Black brands, Target is going to make money, you know that, and you're just saying, well, I'm going to continue to empower Target and give them money even though I don't agree with their policies. That makes no sense whatsoever. It just completely contradicts the entire point of the boycott. So, you know, there is nothing to fear with it. I think too much fear has come and gone. We have gone through so much in this country as Black people, as women, right? That if we don't continue to fight for the gains that we have made, they're going to continue to be rolled back. And this is not to say that we're helpless, we're powerless. That's not even it. There have been enough Black business leaders, Black civic leaders, Black economic leaders to pool resources and to support each other. This is exactly what happened in Montgomery as well. We pooled resources, we carpooled, we supported each other, we did all of these things. Same thing happened with Black Wall Street. It's never been safe, I guess to
Right.
say, to
Yeah.
just, stay kind of status quo. It's never been safe. And
No.
so this is just revealing itself to us in this day and age. I think like we've just been lulled to sleep. Like it's been okay for all these decades, been okay for all these years. Um, it's just,
And frankly, I'll just say it. I think, frankly,
mm,
we've just been too spoiled. We've been
oh
spoiled.
yeah,
Well, we've not had to battle,
right.
the state police with fire hoses. We've
Yeah,
had to battle, in the words of the historians and John Lewis, snarling dogs. We've not had to
yeah,
battle. Somebody did not crank our head. Hit our
yeah,
head against the Edmund Pettus Bridge. We've not
yeah,
paid those sacrifices. We are the inheritors of,
yeah.
of a great movement, a great legacy. And so because of that, some of us are just too spoiled. We're too complacent. Oh, who's going to boycott? I'm not boycotting anything. I mean, I say boycott, take your money out of Target. They don't deserve it. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Lost Medicaid or CHIP coverage? Healthcare.gov is here for you.
Where can we find a low-cost health plan?
What about a plan that covers doctor visits?
Emergency care?
Prescriptions?
With the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month.
What's the website again?
Healthcare.gov.
All right, we're speaking with Attorney Tina Patterson, Principal Attorney at the Patterson Justice Counsel with a decade of legal expertise and prolific public commentary. She is a former attorney for the United States federal government, has built and led widespread influential businesses and nonprofit organizations. We're talking about DEI and, of course, the fallout here with Target being the latest company announcing that they are not going to move forward with their DEI program. And not only that, have the audacity to no longer focus on the program that promotes Black products, minority products. And Tina, I want to talk about just quickly, because it ties into it. What Target is doing, I think, is morally unjust. And Dr. King, in his letter to the Birmingham jail, from the Birmingham jail, talked about unjust laws and just laws. And he talked about his refusal to obey unjust laws. You know what I mean? And he made an entire intellectual and pragmatic argument about unjust laws. And I believe what Target has done is morally unjust. And because of that, I think they do not deserve us, Black folk and everybody, women, Hispanics, Asians, I mean, minority, disabled community, everybody who believes in inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Target does not deserve your money. You need to pull your money out. Let's talk about the unjust and the just moral actions.
So when I think about that, obviously that's always something that comes to mind, unjust and just. But I even go beyond Martin Luther King to the founding of this nation, right? As an attorney, this is kind of what prompted me into this way. The Constitution, right? That's our founding legal document. It was it was ratified during a time of legal slavery in the United States. When you think about the United States and the principles that we're supposed to stand for, freedom, justice, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, right? All of these great ideals, which every person, period, right, with the spirit should ascend to, because these are just eternal principles that are worthwhile and they're good. They're rooted in good. But when it comes to the letter of the law, I call that the spirit of the law. When it comes to the letter of the law, what it actually says and how it is actually applied, it has never been equal, right? There's never been equality. There's never been true freedom. There's never been true liberty. There's never been the pursuit of happiness as it should be. And so we know that because, our people were in chains when the Constitution was ratified. So you can't not see that contradiction. You can't say that, oh, we're going to uphold the law, we're going to follow the law, when you see that you had people in bondage the entire time, right? And when it comes to even indigenous people, right? They were forcibly removed from their land.
Mhm.
So there's always been this contradictory, this dichotomy of history. It's never gone anywhere. But that's why people like Martin Luther King Jr., who have said things like there are laws that are just, there are laws that are unjust. That's why they have been so important. That's why we still uphold his legacy 60 some years later, right? That's why we still celebrate his birthday. That's why he's on the national monument. He has the national federal holiday because he saw that. And you know, he took so many sacrifices. He was in jail, right? He wrote the letters from jail. Uh, so many of them, John Lewis, they were in jail. They broke the law, quote unquote, right? Because it was unjust, because it did not stand up for these principles, the higher laws, right? When it came to freedom, when it came to respect, when it came to liberty, when it came to life, the pursuit of happiness, right? The right to just be a human being and enjoy life, you know, and you don't just follow a law because it's in the law. You have to look at how it is applied. I have this conversation with my own child just last night about rules that you follow, rules that you don't follow. Just because everything is a rule doesn't mean you follow it, you know? And I say this as an attorney. If it is not applicable, if it is not, if it is on its face, right, just wrong, just morally wrong, or if it is an act that is against something that is greater than what is actually being said, right? If it's violating that respect, if it's violating that dignity, that human dignity, you don't follow it just because of what the law says. If it is fundamentally, right, going against your self-worth as a human being, there are higher laws in the world, in the universe, and we're reminded of that all the time when we see something like this happening. I think too many of us, you know, we just kind of sit back and say, oh well, you know, history will take care of itself, or oh, there's something, you know, that we'll just sit back and let it play out and see what happens.
Oh,
When we're literally right here to do something about it. You know, I mean, there's nothing that says that we can't. And I'm not encouraging anybody to like break any laws or anything, but when you see something like this happening, you see really literally discrimination just kind of seeping in. You can't sit back and allow that to happen because discrimination fundamentally violates everything that the laws stand for: freedom, liberty, opportunity, pursuit, all of this stuff that we say we love and we uphold as Americans and, you know, as people that love these things. When you see something fundamentally contradicting all of that, you have to speak up and say something, or else that is going to govern. And I think that's what the danger in all of this is. We don't look at it in that way because we think that, oh, it'll happen, it'll take care of itself. Or some people just, oh, it's supposed to happen, so let's just let it happen and write it out.
mhm.
We're not here to do that. You know, that's why we are here because people have to change these things ultimately. And the greatest hit is going to come in the future if you don't do something about it now. I see this day in and day out. The biggest problems are always because of what people didn't do about them in the past. So if you don't act right away, if you see something right now that is happening and you don't act, it only compounds more problems to unwind and resolve in the future. That goes for anything. This is not any different. So, you know, when it comes to the DEI policies, and a lot of people don't even like the term DEI because, you know, of all the politics around it and whatever. But, you know, fundamentally, it is anti-discrimination. That's how I see it. And
Yeah.
that's what I will stand for because I don't agree with the discrimination of people in this country. You know, my people have been subject to it for so long that I can't, in my conscience, you know,
Right.
sit back and say that this is okay.
Yeah. I want to read something for those Black merchants who have their products in Target who are afraid of us calling for a boycott and don't want to hear the word boycott. I want to read from my book, Fiery Conscience. Some of you, if you've not gotten it, you can go to the Pulse website, thepulseinstitute.org, and get a copy of this book, Fiery Conscience. The opening to the prologue that I wrote here is a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, and it goes like this: there's a higher court than the courts of justice. It is the court of conscience. It supersedes all other courts. The court of conscience. And we have to ask these people who are basically saying, well, do we know? Please don't boycott. Just sneak in there and buy our products. Just go and sneak in there. I'm saying, where is your conscience? You know, Mahatma Gandhi said there's a court that supersedes all courts, including the court of justice, and it's the court of conscience. What is your conscience? You know, and telling us, you know, don't boycott, just sneak in there, just walk in there and buy the product and so forth. They still gonna make money because they say you can't let go. You can't, you know, you're still holding on to them. I say pull your dollars out of Target, pull your dollars out of Target. Target does not deserve your money, period. They said, Target saying bye-bye to DEI, say bye-bye to Target. I mean, it's that this is not complicated, Tina. I mean,
Yeah, no, it isn't.
this is not a federal case. It's simple. Take your money out. Take your money out. It's your dollars.
It is really that simple, but unfortunately, we make everything so much more complicated than it has to be. But it really is that simple. I mean, your
And they
dollars,
don't have a
your dollars.
monopoly in the market. It's not like Target is the only retail store in the
They're
nation. They
not.
don't have a
They're not.
monopoly.
But again, that's to where our laziness has gotten us. That's to where our complacency has gotten us. We think that that's what the case is, and it is not true. That we have to go to Target. We don't have to go to Target. We have to buy from Amazon. We don't have to buy from Amazon. You can pull your money away. Um, we've just gotten so used to this cultural thing of going to Target, spending our money here, posting about it on Instagram. I went to Target, my Target run. Like it's just been bombarded in us that we
I
like
say, end that circle membership, that Target circle membership. Cancel it. Cancel your cards, whatever. Go ahead.
yeah, well, it's just been so bombarded. Like this is what we're supposed to do, and we don't have to. And another big thing I've been saying is, again, this goes to just short-term vision and long-term vision. So a lot of Black brands, short-term, they don't want to lose the money. Oh, it's going to take a long time for us to pool resources and get our own distributorship. Build that out, right? That can be part of the long-term strategy while you pull out. There are many different ways to attack, and it's not either or, it's a both and. You can do both. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. And when it comes to building a business, you have to always be thinking farther out than where you are now. You can have a terrible business. You can be in the negative. You don't plan to stay that way though, right? So you always have to forecast and look ahead of where your business is going, how you're going to turn it around, what partnerships you do want to be involved with, right? Who you do want to connect with, who stands for you, who doesn't. And the bottom line also, right? How you can both make money out of it and be okay and stand for it. You have to have things that align with your brand. Brand recognition, brand importance is so important in this day and age, that to be Black and in Target and they're against Black people in this way. And I say it like, they're just fundamentally saying we're not going to support Black businesses the way we used to. We're
Oxymoron,
not
yeah.
going to. It damages the brand. So ultimately, the business will take a hit no matter what. Even if you are telling people to stay in there and get money, right? And you still make money. The business can still make money. You tell them to go there and buy from Target, but your brand is taking a hit. Your brand has more equity than the product itself. And so that's something to also consider and to think about. But again, just kind of being reactionary, being scared about the bottom line, the immediate
Right.
funds, that's just what people look to right away. I get it because you want to make money. But money is very much only one part of the business. And again,
Yeah.
when it comes to big boxes, there are opportunities for Black people. This is an opportunity to do that, because that's what a lot of consumers are also they're asking for, and that's an opportunity in the market. So if you're talking about business, it's the perfect chance to do something like that to give consumers what they're wanting, so they're not acquiescing to a corporation that's saying we don't really respect you, but we'll take your money.
Yeah. Yeah. I say if you're listening to this podcast, Bankole's Nation, pull your money out of Target. Do not go to Target. Boycott them. They don't deserve your dollars. Before we end this conversation, I want to speak briefly about JP Morgan Chase, Costco, Apple, Microsoft. These are some of these major companies also, just like Target, who basically have doubled down on DEI. They have refused to abandon their DEI. I mean, JP Morgan Chase Bank CEO and Chairman Jamie Dimon said, bring it on. He said it at the World Economic Forum. He said, we're going to continue outreach to the Black, Hispanic, LGBT, you name it, other communities. We're going to stay with DEI. And he said to those who are opposing it, bring it on. We're going to fight back. We've seen Costco, the same thing. Apple, Microsoft. Let's talk about just the importance of that. While Target has been a coward, announcing that they're scaling or ending their DEI and of course, ending the program to promote Black and minority products, and other companies that are acting like cowards, ending their DEI or scaling back their DEI, we see JP Morgan Chase, Costco, Apple, and Microsoft doubling down in terms of supporting, staying with their DEI programs.
I think that's very important, and that's not getting lifted up enough, especially for Apple. Apple is the most valuable company in the world. To my knowledge, it's the only trillion-dollar company. I'm not
It is
sure.
the only one, yeah.
Yeah, so, it's the leader. It's the leader in business. And if the leader in business can say DEI is good for us, diversity, equity, inclusion is good for us, we're not going anywhere, then why can't other corporations see that? They're not going to lose money for that, right? Apple knows they have too much at stake. They know how many people use their products.
How many
They know
black? Exactly, women.
exactly.
I mean, you
I'm
know,
on a Mac computer right now,
right.
so they know that.
That's
They
right.
know
On a
that,
Mac as well. I'm recording this podcast on a Mac, so I
yeah,
have my MacBook here. So exactly. Go ahead.
yeah, the iPhone, all these things are highly popular. So they know that for them to walk away from that is going to be a big hit to their bottom line. And they could even afford to say, oh, well, we're going to do it anyway because they have so much money already. But that's not what their values are about. They're able to stand on their brand, right, of being visionaries, right, of being kind of futuristic. And you can't be visionary and futuristic and you leave people out. Is it like perfect? No. But is it better to say, we're going to stand by these values. We're going to, diversity is important to us. And it's also good for business. It's been proven time and time again. There was a report that just came out again that diversity, when you embrace these policies, you necessarily make more money because you're reaching out to a wider audience. You're reaching out to more consumers. You're telling them that we'll take your money, but we'll also promote you and put you, like there's a lot of good sense to make for the business
It makes
for
business
diversity.
right.
Exactly, exactly. So, that also has to be upheld more than just, oh, what are we going to do about Target? Target has made their line in the sand, but so have these other companies. And ultimately, we're going to see, I think, who comes out on top. There's a saying, obviously, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it always been towards justice. I don't think that's going to be any different in this case. And when it comes to justice, it's all about treating people valuably, not just their dollars and wanting their dollars, but also saying we respect the person behind the dollar. That's being lost. And, this is a major opportunity for consumers to really also even just look at their spending and see if we can, if we don't go to Target anymore, what can we do with those dollars then? Can we put it back into ourselves? Can we save it for college? Can we pay off some debt so that we can build wealth? Can we invest in a property? There's so many, diverse and
Option.
great economic opportunities, when it comes to this. So it's not a time to be scared. Black businesses also, instead of just, it's just such a selfish and a self-sided plea to look at your bottom line right now. What about next year? Okay, you fought hard to get into Target, but now you see where they're going. What's the long-term plan now? It's so much more beyond just the dollar you make today. Where's the dollar going to go tomorrow? That's what you really need to be looking at. And for Black folks right now, for a lot of people who are feeling the DEI hit is the perfect time, uh, not to be discouraged. To me, this has never been about, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to be doing what I have to do anyway. Uh, you know, it's more about really being smart about your money, really being strategic with your dollars. You have so much power in there. This is a perfect time to really see how far your dollar will stretch and where you can take it and how you can withdraw it from somewhere that does not fundamentally support your growth and your advancement.
Yeah, yeah. We're speaking with Attorney Tina Patterson, Principal Attorney at the Patterson Justice Counsel, PLLC, here in Detroit, about Target boycotts, DEI, and so forth. And, Tina, I get a sense that this is going to be an ongoing issue because there are companies that are cowards that are going to drop DEI. There are others that are going to be brave and double down on DEI. So we'll continue to talk about this. And just your final comments here about this entire DEI, this fiasco, this attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which really was the part of the core of the civil rights movement.
Yeah, absolutely. So because it was so fundamental to the civil rights movement, and that has been one of the greatest movements in history, it's still very much fresh. Like I said, it's not even 100 years ago. It's not generations past. It was my father's era, right? This is what he grew up in. So it's still very much a fresh moment in time for people who are still alive can relate. They knew what happened then. So it's not a moment to just say, oh, well, that happened a long time ago. We can move on. No, 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 because we're not even over any of that yet. We have had so many gains from that era when it comes to civil rights, when it comes to the respect of African Americans, when it comes to the Black dollar, when it comes to Black business opportunities. Federal contracting is going to be a big one. I hope people are paying attention to that. There's billions of dollars always doled out in federal dollars. Less than 10% go to Black folks. And that's just African Americans. The numbers are also small for when it comes to other minorities, women. You know, you got to look at that. And the laws of the country too, because the way it's shaping up, this is an executive order. But obviously, we have the legislature, we have the judiciary. Are they going to align with that? That's when it's going to be really hard to fight back if all of the branches aren't aligned with this kind of policy the executive administration wants to push. And so it's not a time to be complacent. It's not a time to be fearful either. I don't ever speak out of fear. I see a lot of people posting they're scared about what's happening. Don't be afraid. Just see what's happening and be encouraged to do something about it and fight back. The fear, the fight, it's always going to be there. It's just which side are you going to be on at this point? And also to know that no matter what, you are in control. Okay, it's not beyond you to act. Again, just the power of your dollar is in your pocket. You have so much power with that, more than you realize. Business opportunities are abound. This is a time to act. It is a time to do something. It's not a time to sit on the sidelines. So many of us have in the past, and everybody benefited when people made these sacrifices. So what are we going to do? Are we just going to sit back and just let things happen? Or are some of us going to make sacrifices so that more of us can have greater opportunities in the future? That's what it's going to be about ultimately. It's not a fight that's over. It's not even about this one thing, right? This is just one thing that happened. But we have to be aware. We have to stay alert. I think we have to be very strategic about how we're investing our time, our money, our efforts, our energy, where we're spending our dollar, and make the most out of it. It doesn't just mean getting the most money we can. It doesn't just mean getting the most Black products we can, right? It's about this power that I have in my hand. What am I going to do with it? This power that I have in my voice, how am I going to use it? Is it going to benefit me and me only and my little family, which that's my responsibility? Or am I going to do that and also make a bigger wave, a bigger impact for people beyond myself? I think that's what, to me, life is. We're never here just for ourselves alone.
Right.
We have to enjoy the time we have while we're here. Yes, not saying that you don't, you shouldn't. But there's always going to be a generation coming after you, and you have to always leave them in a better position than you were in. And I think that's the ultimate bottom line in all of this is, are we doing that? And if not, why not? We're going to be judged by that. And so we can't afford to just sit around and let decisions happen. I think that's the worst thing we could do, is just give our power away instead of actually using the power we have to make the changes we want to see.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And to those who are listening, I say boycott Target, pull your money out. They don't deserve your dollars. Don't go to Target. Cancel your Circle membership. Cancel whatever charge card you have with Target. Do not go to Target. Boycott them. Make them feel the economic pain. If they're going to end a program that promotes Black products, minority products, you need to pull your money out. And do not listen to those Black merchants who are basically saying, oh, well, if you boycott them, then, just go in there and buy our products. No. If the civil rights movement operated the way they operated, there would have been no liberation today. So, well, thank you so much. Again, Tina Patterson, thank you so much for being here.